Yeah, not,
no, I'm with you on the generational thing.
The kids. Two of them went to the border.
I'm not ready. I think some cemetery time are just far enough along. They take some time.
or beauty.
Yes, some flexibility.
You don't have.
I'm ready.
Okay, I will.
Okay, I'd like to call this organizational meeting of the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners to order. And if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please take roll call.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner Walter.
Here.
Commissioner Bunnick.
Here.
Commissioner Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Commissioner Algier.
Here.
Commissioner Yoder.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have public comment, which is agenda specific, for 3 minutes. Is there anyone that wishes to address the Board of Commissioners at this time? No public comment? Now, any commissioner comment? I hope everyone had a good holiday. What's that? All right. It's that point in the agenda for approval of the agenda. No agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Yes.
Yeah, I would like to add at on number 1 that we look at a 1-year term for the chair.
Is there anything else? Okay, and we do have our attorney, Matt Norford here, so if there's any questions on that, when we get to that portion, he can come and address that. Any other additions or deletions? Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? So moved. I'm sorry, who seconded it?
To Bunnick and Walter.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, motion carried. Okay, the first action item we have today is for the election of chairman. And I believe I gave you all copies of Attorney Nordford's email to me, as well as the 1-page synopsis. And unfortunately, I believe I gave mine out, so I'm going to wing it. But if Attorney Nordford can come up to the table, that way he can correct me. As you know, your terms are now 4 years. And when they changed the law and made that 4 years for commissioners, the one thing they did not do was change the length of the term for the chairman or the vice chair. The vice chair position will be elected annually, and that is set. That has to happen that way. The chairman's position can be 2 years, or it can also be 1 year. And also, when we do open nominations today for the position of chairman, it does not require a second. All right, and once we open those nominations and once we close those, when we take the vote, I'm going to randomly call your names and you're going to tell me who you vote for. Okay, it's not just the way we have in the past several years, but we have an amendment to the agenda to discuss moving the chairmanship from a 2-year term to a 1-year. So I don't know how you want to proceed. Would you like the attorney to address you to answer any questions or explain this?
Yes, please.
I'm seeing this from some and this from,
Need a motion to change the agenda first.
we already did that.
You already did that.
Oh, to change it.
did that.
I thought it was to approve.
Yeah.
You did that under your amended
Yeah.
agendas and conditions.
So I was saying no, but if some people want the
Yeah.
explanation, we should honor
Okay,
that.
so why don't we, would you like Matt to just explain, or did you want to ask some questions? I think it'd be better to have him just explain.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Matt Nordfjord, Coastal Toski. Nice to see some new faces, and of course, good to see people that I've worked with before. Just a quick overview here. If you do decide to elect a chair for 1 year, that's absolutely within your prerogative. The statute allows for a maximum of a 2-year term for the chair, or by resolution and motion, which is the same under the law. You can make a motion for a 1-year term. Your board rules, which carry over until you amend them, say that the term will normally be 2 years. So if you were going to do this, my recommendation would be step 1, a motion to amend the board rules to elect the chair for a 1-year term. If that motion is successful, then you could move into step 2, which would be nominations, and then a vote on the election of the chair for that 1-year term. So pretty simple, just a 2-step process if you want to do that. If it stays 2-year because that motion fails, no problem. That's what the board rules say, and we move forward with the election on a 2-year term.
Okay, so how do we,
So I'd make a motion that we change the board rules to a 1 year for the chairman.
is there a second for that motion? Question or second? Second. Okay, second by Commissioner Allgaier. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. You give me your hand. I don't know how many.
I said aye.
1, 2, 3. So we have 3 ayes for a 1-year term. Any opposed signify by saying aye. So we have 4 that say no, so the motion fails. Okay, so with that, and I did allow you discussion, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, I guess we'll just move on to opening the floor for nominations for our chairman for a 2-year term. Do we have any nominations? They do not require a second.
Steve Yoder.
Okay, who nominated Steve?
Who did you say? You may need to speak up, so you, huh? Steve Yoder.
Okay.
Okay, Rick Robbins donates Steve Yoder. Okay, do we have any other nominations? No other nominations? I was asked yesterday to say it 3 times, so I will. It's not necessary, but I will. Yeah, me too. Any other nominations? Okay, there being no other nominations, we can close the nominations. And Jen, do you have a roll call sheet?
Can, yep. One that I can look at.
Yep, a green one. Oh, gotcha. Start with Rick Robbins since he made the nomination. And this is a vote, a roll call vote for the election of Steve Yoder as chairman of the Board of Commissioners for a 2-year term.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Elguyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Yoder. You'll be chairman of the Board of Commissioners. And we can just take a couple-minute recess here and we'll change positions. Well, not totally, you're gonna come here, I'm going down there. And so let's just take a quick little recess here. Oh. I thought you were gonna tell me a secret.
Moving up, Steve.
Oh, that's mine. I don't know. It can be done. Are we, thank you.
Big raise in salary.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we're on vice chair. Gotcha. Okay, all right. When you're ready, Steve, just let me know.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. All right, at this time, we're at the action item number 2 of election of vice chairman for a 1-year term. I'll just simply go through the same procedure I did that the clerk did as far as nominations go. Mr. Algar.
I would nominate Ty Whistle for vice chair.
All right, are there any other nominations?
I nominate Alan Campbell for vice chair.
Are there any other nominations? The other nominations? If not, we'll go on to close nominations and I'll let the clerk do the roll on that.
Oh, at the back here.
Okay,
First one was out there. The last one. Okay.
Commissioner Bonnick, who do you vote for?
Alan Campbell.
Commissioner Campbell, who do you vote for?
Commissioner Campbell.
Commissioner Robbins,
Commissioner Wessel.
Commissioner Walter,
Commissioner Campbell.
Commissioner Wessel,
Commissioner Wessel.
Chairman Yoder,
Commissioner Wessel,
Commissioner Alguier,
Commissioner Wessel.
Commissioner Wessel, 1, 2, 3, 4 votes, Campbell, 1, 2, 3. That would be Commissioner Wessel as vice chairman.
all right, moving on to action item number 3 of approval of the 2025 rules of order and procedure. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review those. Anybody have any questions or? Mr. Mike?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. There are actually inconsistencies in those rules that I see, at least in one. Well, Article 5, I just want to note that it says that all committees, and I would include task force, which is not on there, or anything else, need to be for the Open Meetings Act. They have to follow that. And so that would be a change that we would have to add, that would make sure they can't give a different name, and then I would say task force, etc. So that it's not, we don't have that conflict again. Then in Article 6, the last sentence has a complete conflict with Article 8. In Article 6, number 5, the last sentence says that the chairman should not be responsible or have the last say of the agenda. In Article 8, which is traditionally been the way it's been, it says that the chairman is responsible for the agenda and has the last say on it. So those two are actually in conflict with one another. And I believe that Article 8 by itself is the correct one. And I think the sentence that was that says he's not, it was added at some point. Because it wasn't in there before. Yeah.
Slow down, I'm trying to find this so I can be able, it's under Article 6, correct?
Yes, number 5,
And number 5.
the last sentence.
Okay. And you're going to Article,
Then you go to Article 8,
okay,
and that one actually states that the chairman does have the last say on the agenda. So they conflict with one another. And I believe tradition has been the chairman has the last say on the agenda before it comes to the board.
wait a minute, I'm at the wrong spot, that's where I messed myself up, I apologize.
Administrative office responsibilities.
Okay, you're on that, Richard, it's page
17.
16.
16. Page 16, in the rules of procedure, page 17 at the top.
Mine's on page 17.
It is if you look at the top number.
Mine's
Oh,
not,
okay, gotcha.
either I'm missing a page 17.
One, is it,
Oh, right here. Oh,
Chairman Yoder, can I
yes.
just make a slight suggestion?
Yep, go ahead.
Why don't we start, are you done listing all your? things?
No,
Okay, he's not done yet. But if, when he's done listing,
Yeah, right there.
Okay,
I'm assuming that's.
so which do you want to take out?
well, I believe the one in Article 6 is been added at some point. And I think, so I would say that either can get changed to reflect Article 8 or just eliminate the last sentence. That would be my suggestion.
Okay,
I mean, and we can discuss it. I mean,
I'm just wanting to make sure that I was on.
Commissioner Bonnie says that he has some more areas. When we go to do this, we need to go back and start at his first one that he had was regarding the committees.
Okay, so,
And we need to take these one at a time, or else we are going to have a mess here that Richard and I are going to have a very difficult time sorting out. And if we can go boom by boom, because your other alternative is to start on page 1, which has the red number 5, and go, is there any questions on this section? Obviously, we know when we get to the dates. And the agenda, otherwise we're gonna have too big of a mess, you see what I'm saying?
yep,
And I'm not trying to tell you how to do your
No.
thing.
well, why don't we vote on the first suggestion you have and keep going down the line
okay,
like that?
yeah, I like that. I mean, is there any objections to it? I mean, so I would say that the first thing that I talked about was the Article 5 Open Meetings Act, including task force and any other things, appointed by this board. That they have to follow the Open Meetings Act.
That's a motion,
Yes,
all right,
we have to say.
is there support?
Second.
All right, and we have a second by Mr. Commissioner Walter, is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Algar?
First of all, I know why you want to add task force. The task force always abided by the Open Meetings Act. It was a new vehicle, so it did take a little bit of time for the administration to know how to
Point of
post
order.
things.
Point of order, this is not, she's discussing a task force, and we are actually talking about the Open Meetings Act. We're gonna change our rules and procedures. We don't need to talk about what happened in the past.
Okay. Algar, we can just address the motion that was stated. Whatever discussion you have on that, I guess.
Well, I guess I'm thinking about this of all the ramifications, but I would agree. I believe all of our task force already do that, so it's not gonna hurt to list it.
All right, any further discussion?
Well, I could please, obviously, I believe this is very important. I'm not sure. I guess I would need to know exactly the wording before. Did you say any body appointed, or what were the phrases that you used?
Yes, well, basically, I said for all committees, task force, et cetera, is what I said.
Okay,
It's a little scary.
And et cetera would be, things that are appointed by this board, and we could add those words if you wanted to.
well, I do think it's important to get back to our rules and procedures. If you look in our rules and procedures, there is no mention of a body named a task force. There are 2 committees, there are standing committees and special committees. And I myself, I believe it's important that we either change our rules, which I'm not in favor of, or go back to our rules, which, as I said, allow for only 2 bodies to be selected by this board. So I'm not sure if you need the word task force or not, I'm fine with it in, but hopefully this is directed towards the bodies established by our bylaws, which would make them, which I don't want to say legal, but anyway.
All right, any further discussion?
I'm not comfortable with the word et cetera there. I think you should say task force.
It says include task force, et cetera, and then he added appointed by the board. So et cetera is appointed by the board.
So you, in essence, replaced et cetera with appointed by the board, or are you keeping that in
Maybe
there?
afterwards, but
Which one?
you could be an example, all committees, and as an example. You know, I mean, we could have them come up with the wording and then, you know, if we approve it, the wording, and then we could redo when we do all of them. We could make sure the wording is right. But I just want to make sure anything that's supported by this board follows the Open Meetings Act. I think that's important.
Okay.
We take all these, and we make the revisions, then we bring it back for a formal vote later.
Well,
I'm
this is-
trying to understand your process.
This is a motion that will hold. I'm just curious, when we're looking at Article 5, for this language under section D, where it talks about committee meetings,
Yes.
and that's page 9 with the red number at the top, okay? Go down to the bottom where it says committee meetings. Because we've got select committees up above, we have committee procedures, and we have committee meetings. And in that section on the 3rd or 4th line, it says said notice complies with the Open Meetings Act. Are you just looking for the title here to say committee meetings, select committees, task force? And is that where we're looking to incorporate this?
Well, I just got Article 5C5.
C5, oh, all right, okay, I see, do you get that, Richard?
Yeah, I've
You
got
got it.
that one, but I think when
Maybe we just put as examples.
it's whatever this body
Right.
creates for whatever period of time has to follow the Open Meetings Act, period. I don't care what you call it. That's what it's gotta be.
I just want to make sure that that's clear, because it hasn't been
Understand.
before.
If the
Okay.
motion passes, I don't know if it did yet or not, but if it does, we will add this to here. After you get through with all of your changes, if you approve these as amended, we will amend them, we will distribute copies. If you see that we've done something wrong, then
Yeah.
you can add it to your agenda and re-amend it.
And we'll have it there for next week for you to review. If we got it, great, you don't have to do anything. If we didn't, you can make one more, but we'll have it on your agenda next week. If you don't go too many changes, so. But I understand your point, because I have been appointed by this body. And, yeah, and that's the way I've always understood the way the law read, so. Yeah.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of that amendment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Then I'd go to Article 6 and versus Article 8. And I would ask that the word not be taken out of the last sentence in Article 6, number 5. I'll take the not out of it.
Okay, that's page 12, your red number's 12 at the top. And he is looking at the last line of the agenda, that line where it says further, the chairperson shall not have the final decision of the agenda.
All right, so that's a motion to strike that. Is there support?
I'll support that.
We have support from Mr. Campbell. Any further discussion?
If I could just, I think that it's kind of, the process itself is for getting on the agenda the more I look at it is a bit strange to me that three commissioners can call a special meeting. And we have a lot of special meetings. Myself, I'd like to have much fewer special meetings. But 3 commissioners can't require that something be placed on the agenda. I don't have a solution for that. I just think it's kind of dysfunctional to have, for commissioners to have the commissioner, other than the chair, to have the authority to call a special meeting, but to not have the authority to place something on the agenda.
Well, that's a special meeting item, that's a different one for what you're talking about, but agenda deadlines. Here you have it in the very beginning is to have an item that if any one of you have an item that you want on the agenda, all you have to do is email myself or Lauren, I guess at this point, because we prepare the agendas. At least 6 days, was it 6 working days preceding the scheduled meeting. So i.e., the meeting that we will have next week, if you want something on the agenda, then you have to do Monday back up 6 working days, which would have been yesterday, to have that item submitted to us so we can put it on the agenda. Any one of you, doesn't take 3. You're talking about a special meeting.
No, I'm talking about how this is written doesn't require you to put that on, and I'm not, this isn't personal, and I think you understand that. It doesn't require you to. The chair will work with you to place things on the agenda, but if 2 of us want something on the agenda and the administrator and the chair don't want it on the agenda, it doesn't go on.
Well,
If 3 of us, I understand that, you know, the rule of 4, that we gotta always keep 4 of us happy, but I don't, anyways, I just found it weird that we would have the authority as commissioners to set a special meeting, more authority to do that than we do to place something on. I just,
well, it would be my suggestion that you only do one thing. Change it to 7 days. That means it has to happen 7 days, which means it would have had to be there last Friday. For one reason, we're scrambling the next week for this week to get everything ready for you to, so you have it. We're trying to push everything out by Thursday night. So you have everything, not always making it, but that's what we're trying to do, because that way we're not scrambling around here on Friday at the last minute. That's up to you, and I'll live it, but internally, I have pushed to go have everything in by last Friday so that we can assemble everything for you, but that's up to you. Right now, at least while I'm here, if you send it in, it's on the agenda. Now, I may not have all the background to help you make a decision on it, but it'll be on the agenda. How much background or material we have ready for it, I can't answer that question. Right.
Yeah, I think we're talking about 2 or 3 different things here. All I'm talking about is who in the end is responsible, and I'm saying we've got a conflict in our policies where
I agree.
one article says he cannot have it, the other article says he does have it. So I would say tradition has been that it becomes our agenda. Yes, you put it together, you and Lauren, but in the end, the chairman makes the decision that this is our agenda. And then when it comes to the board here, and we can add or subtract or do whatever we want, but what's on it when it comes to this board is determined by the chairman. And so we've had it before where the boards had discussions, and then a commissioner doesn't like the way the discussion went, so we put something on the agenda and the chairman takes it off because it's already been discussed. So it either is going to be this board's agenda, or it's going to be the administrator's agenda. So I believe it should come to this board, and so the word not, or we see that, or we get rid of Article 8. I guess that's the discussion. We're going to get rid of Article 8, or are we going to just take the word not out of Article 6?
Well, the motion we have on the floor is to remove that. We got it seconded. So that's the discussion we have right now. Any further discussion on that?
Okay, I would like a clarification of what we're gonna.
Okay, you want to repeat that motion there?
The motion is to remove the word not from Article 6, Article 6, Hearing 5, Agenda Deadline. To remove that not, it would read, further, the chairperson shall have the final decision on the agenda.
You're right. My other thing is another discussion, so.
All right, any further discussion on that? Commissioner Wessel?
I would support that because this body could always add as a late addition an agenda item. I'm supportive of the chair developing the agenda that comes to the Board of Commissioners.
All right, any further discussion? All right, not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. All right, anything else, Mr. Money?
Yes, also, as well in Article 6, F2. F2 is actually promoting a violation of the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act says that we cannot have people on Zoom or team meetings participating or voting in our agendas. Yet this whole F2 states that we are going to, except for the last sentence, it says if they change the laws. I don't believe we should have something that's promoting violating the Open Meetings Act in our board policy. So I would make the motion that we eliminate F2. And if the Open Meetings Act gets changed, then we could change our board rules, but I don't think we should have something in there that actually promotes violating the Open Meetings Act. So I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Commissioner Campbell. Any further discussion?
So are you wanting to remove all of this?
Yes,
All of number 2?
F2, yes.
You want that whole section gone?
Yes.
A, B, C, D, E.
Just A, B, C, right?
Yep.
A, B, and C.
I believe so, yes.
All right,
And you are doing this based on the fact that no change was made,
Correct.
because when we put this in, we thought there was going to be.
It was going to.
Okay.
Probably was.
all right, any further discussion?
And I just have a
Go
question.
ahead.
In reference to
Yes.
F2. Does that affect paragraph 1 at all, or are we just gonna vote on the removal of F2?
I think we should just do F2 and we can
Okay.
look at the
Just
other.
wanna make sure what we're
I hadn't
doing.
really looked at that one, so I don't.
All right, any further discussion? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. Any more?
Yeah, the only other thing I have is with our schedule, and I think that's later on. Yeah, I think that's,
Yep.
so I would, those are the only things that I had, unless somebody has something else.
So would we discuss our start time now, though?
I think that would be on our schedule.
Yeah, that's, I believe, in our meeting schedule, we discussed that.
Is it? Okay, it is.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll take a motion to approve board rules, I guess, as amended.
I would make that one.
All right, Commissioner Money, is there support? Commissioner Walter, any further discussion? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried 7-0.
So our intent is we'll have this on your packet next week. You can look at it. If you got it, great. If you didn't, we'll make some more corrections.
All right, next up, we're under item number 4, which is approval of 2025 meeting schedule. Mr. Algar.
It worked very well last year to start our meetings at 9:30 instead of 9. Staff was not having to come in early. And I did check with our clerk, and she said it did help the staff a lot. And also, it seemed to work really well, and I'd like to continue that. So do we need a motion to start the meetings at 9:30?
Correct. Well, if you just approve the agenda or the meeting schedule here, which is stated as 9:30, unless you want to change it further.
Okay, well, today,
I would request for the organizational session that we have scheduled in 26 to make that at 9:30 as well, so that's consistent with all of our meetings, because that wasn't. Today we had it at 9, so if we can have that consistent with all of our other meetings. All right, is there a motion?
I would move that we begin all board of commissioner meetings at 9:30 if they are morning meetings.
And the
That
organizational,
could be a little squirrely.
which includes your organizational meeting for 1/6/26.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Walter? We,
well,
hang on, we gotta get a second for that first.
Second.
Oh, Commissioner Robbins seconded, all right, Commissioner Walter.
we got a meeting scheduled. And at the bottom, it says executive board sessions begin at 9:30, regular sessions begin at 7 p.m. I mean, that's as presented. I would rather just accept the schedule as presented in our minutes, I mean, that we have in our packet. That's exactly what we want, so I mean, to go back to the 9:30 thing, it's just redundancy. It says it right there, 9:30.
That's, in essence, from my understanding, Commissioner Algar, that's your motion, is to accept the meeting schedule as presented.
As long as it says 9:30.
Along with 9:30, with the organizational session at 9:30, beginning of next year. Any further discussion on that motion? Commissioner Campbell?
I gotta be honest, I'm going the opposite way. I kind of like having meetings start earlier, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of appetite for that. However, I would like to consider starting our evening meetings at 6:30 rather than 7. In case we do have long meetings, you get an earlier start, you can get out. I haven't discussed this with the clerk's office, but I'm not sure if they get home afterwards or they stay here anyway still.
Tuesday.
So it may benefit the clerk's office to start those meetings at 6:30. So anyways, on the motion on the table, I'll be voting no in particular because I'd like to start the evening meetings a little sooner.
Can he amend that original motion for the 6:30? You could just make that amendment.
Okay, I'd make that amendment to begin those evening meetings at 6:30.
Support, is there support?
Or
First.
I heard from Wessel.
I
Is that correct? Wessel? Okay.
Any discussion on that amendment?
I think it makes it more difficult for people to have dinner before they come to a meeting. And for the people coming to work.
Any further discussion?
So I would support.
We have discussion down here, I think.
No, it's on the next.
All right, there'll be no further discussion. We'll take a vote on the amendment. If all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion carries 6-1. All right, now we're back to the original motion. Any further discussion on that? If not, I'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried 6-1. All right, next up, we're to item number 5, continuation of monthly meetings from individual departments and agencies. Is there any discussion on that? Mr. Bunny?
Yeah, I just was looking at the schedule and I see that we have the Benzie Leelanau department, or whatever, the health department on there twice. And I don't know that we need to have them report to us twice, especially when they come up from Benzie often. So I would say that we could eliminate it, and that it's on page 22, I believe.
Preferences for which one? If there's
I think
like
of
it's
the
in
later
March,
one, I think in September.
September.
So I would make what
Let me eliminate the
number, the one in September.
September, okay.
Well, that would be my motion.
Oh. So you're in essence approving this with that
That-
deletion?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I make one suggestion for taking one of them off? We are now under a tri-county material management program. It'd be an ideal time to have them come report to us in that place. I didn't even think about it till right now.
I like that. I mean, if you mean replacing them? Switching,
Well, no, we have entered into a material management program. And Grand Traverse County is our lead, but it's, once again, it's Tri-County between us, Benson County and Grand Traverse County. There's a separate board and all of that takes place. We probably need to add them to this schedule so you can get a report back from them directly. I mean, and I haven't, if we could, you've taken the health department off of one, is it okay if where you took them off, we put them in?
I would be willing to change the motion to that.
September.
Yeah, we'll have it for next September.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, it just hit me, so.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Bunnick, support by Commissioner Walter. Any discussion?
I would have some discussion that I'm not sure if there is a time limit provided or an expectation provided for some of these presentations. But we get written reports from them. I mean, I think our elected officials should be obviously given a lot of latitude as far as providing us with information, but a lot of this information that comes to us, I know it's good to know and we need to know it, but it also comes in a written form. And having a half-hour presentation included and a written form from some of these organizations, I think I'm not sure it helps, if you will, participation, and I'm not sure we learn a lot more than if we go through. So I'd like to have the chair have authority to put some type of limit on how long these presentations might go.
We can tell them 15 minutes. Sometimes they go longer.
Commissioner Bunnick?
Yeah, I think that's a great discussion, and I think it'd be a recommendation. We have a different motion on the table, though. This, that could, I would be happy to include that, or, you know, or make a motion afterwards that we recommend 15 minutes or something, and put it right on the schedule so they see that. But we should really do the other one first.
Are you amending your motion to that? No? It'll be a separate motion after that.
I would rather do it a
Okay,
separate
all
motion.
right. Any further discussion on the original motion?
I have a motion by Bunnick, that on page 22 of the packet, to eliminate the September, I don't have in front of me, board, Benson Leelanau,
Yes.
and replace that per interim administrator Lewis with the Tri-County Material Management Program update.
No? Is that clear? All right. Any further discussion on that motion? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0.
Can I just hang on? Lauren, would you please come up and explain to these folks exactly what you've just explained to me? Because while we've agreed to this schedule, it is a living document. It changes, because sometimes something happens, they can't, we just switch it around. So please, she's the one that's going to make all that happen.
So as far as the Benzie Leelanau District Health Department, we also have environmental health. And that could be a typo in the document because it is a working document and changes have to be made for allowing for schedules or conflicts. When the electeds come, like Representative Kofia, we work with her schedule. So there is a hope and an expectation that there's some flexibility in the document as far as the presentation. So if you want to combine both the health department updates and the environmental health updates, then I would ask for more time so that they can both give their updates appropriately. And also know that there needs to be some latitude and some flexibility within the document. That's it. Thanks.
Is that fair enough? Just that understanding?
That good with everybody?
Yeah, I mean, that we can divide them into two different things, and each one gets, you know, if we did put that on there, each one gets 15 minutes or something, you know?
Okay. Then
I
we're
mean,
gonna put
I
a
agree
little
with
note
you.
for that one that will have both of their sections for that one, and they can do that. Okay. Okay, I just want you to hear that from the person that's going to be making sure all of it happens, so, thank you.
All right. Somebody want to follow up with another motion? That was their suggestion, or was that just a general understanding?
Common sense.
Common sense, all right, leave it to the discretion of the chair to kind of limit it at 15 minutes. All right,
I would like to just add that I think it's very important that we hear from our departments and agencies. We need to know what they're doing. And our public also hears it, and I think it's an important. I think it's an important part of this meeting.
all right, moving on to item number 6. For committee appointments and authorities, I know I talked with the administrator, the clerk, but my recommendation for that is, because I don't have anything written up for appointment assignments, I would like each one of you to come back to me with your preference. Obviously, I probably will not be able to make everybody happy with, you know, the recommendations you give me, but I will do the best that I can. And then we'll have this on the agenda or the executive session, where we'll make those final appointments. That I'll bring my recommendations and get all of that. So the same with item number 7 for standing committees as well. So if you can all just get back with me, obviously individually, if you don't want to do it in a group, because that violates everything, but you can just let me know your preference and I'll have that together for executive session. Yes.
Can I just make a statement on one of the items? It's going to be on the top of page 24. This is the TTCI, Traverse Transportation Coordination Initiative, which is really an NPO in short. You see under the second one, the technical committee. At this point, your administrator is serving on that technical committee. It could be one of you if you want to do it. And just to be clear, the technical committee goes through all the details. And they in turn submit all the recommendations to the policy board to make the final decisions. Our recommendation is very strong that one of the elected officials has to be on the policy board. Now, the TTCI doesn't represent the entire Leelanau County. There's a portion of the southeastern part of the county that's included in the NPO. There was a lot of Elmwood, some of, I think, and I gotta remember, I'll get the map out, but it's not a very large section, but it is included. So it's up to you whether you want to serve on the technical committee or you want your supervisor to serve on it. So you can let the chair know which way you want to do it. The other item is under the Parks and Rec Commission. It says up to 3. You can only, if you just want to have one, that is your call also. So it's whatever you want to do. So we'll take it from there. Those are the 2 highlights that I wanted to share with you as you go through your considerations. Other than that, I don't know what else. All right, but thank you.
Yeah, everybody wants to come back with me on that. That's good. So
I have a discussion on, and this has to do with one of the, I know this is gonna be a divisive topic, the Energy Task Force. So let me throw out a motion and then we'll see if it flies or if it doesn't. That I wrote this morning that says, this is on the 10th. Whereas the Energy Futures Task Force was established for a 1-year period and asked to report back to the county board with its accomplishments and findings. Whereas the task force did report back to the previous board while asking permission to meet one more time in December of 2024. Whereas the previous county board denied the request of the task force to continue meeting. And whereas in no place within county board policies and procedures is there a provision for establishment of a task force, I move that the county board thanks members of the task force for their dedicated work, while acknowledging the decision of the previous board by removing the task force from its committee appointment schedule.
motion And the second, any discussion? Commissioner Algar?
I assumed that we would address that issue when we discuss committees in the next meeting. You haven't heard from the task force yet about whether they want to continue.
Yeah.
So I would appreciate doing this next week when we consider all of our committees.
Commissioner Waller?
It's not up to the task force to decide if they want to continue, it's up to the board whether we want to continue with the task force.
Well, it's up to the task force about whether they want to continue.
Well, no, it's up to it's up to us whether we have a task force or not. So, the motion is to remove the task force. I support that, that's all I'm saying. It's not up to the task force to decide whether they want to exist, it's up to the board would decide whether we want to have a task.
All right, any other discussion? Commissioner Wells?
I would agree with Commissioner Older. I don't know why we have to decide that today, and I would prefer to talk about that when we talk about the committees in general. That's a committee meeting.
All right, any other discussion? Mr. Funny?
Yes, I would say that if you're making assignments for committees, and if we don't have that committee, that's assignments for one or two commissioners that you don't have to deal with, that have to be put on it. So now is the perfect time to actually make a decision whether we're gonna have it or not.
All right, my question for the clerk is, this committee, was that, because I remember in December, there was some discussion on that, and it didn't pass to continue. Is that something that, is this on for discussion, or how does that committee did, I guess? I don't know. That was the
Well,
question I had.
I had it planned to be on your agenda for next week because that's how it was, or at least the way I understood it, that it was left with the board to have it for further consideration by the this body. I had anticipated having it on your agenda for next week, but you decide on this today, then it won't be on your agenda for this week. But it had to be a decision that was going to be made at a later date by the next board, one way or the other, whenever, so.
I think right now it just falls on the listing of the committees that Lauren's put together for you.
It was not continued through the end of December. And just as a side note, I need everyone to speak into their microphones. People watching are not hearing you.
All right. Any other discussion on that motion? Sure, you can do a roll call. Are we done with discussion?
Yeah.
All right, call the vote.
Campbell. We're doing a roll call
Was my
vote.
motion to,
Yes.
yes.
Robbins,
No.
Walter,
Yes.
Wessel,
No.
Yoder,
Yes.
Algar,
No,
Bonick,
Yes.
4, 3.
All right. Same as staying.
Well, I would also like to discuss our housing task force. Because they have an organizational meeting set. And my opinion is that, well, 3 of their meetings last year were canceled. They did hold a meeting in November. I tried to find the minutes. They weren't posted, but I was kind enough to be sent a copy of the minutes a couple weeks ago. And to be honest, given the inactivity, and this isn't anything to do, I mean, we have so many people who really care, including myself, about this topic. But I'd like to have a discussion about if continuing that task force in its present form, if that meets if it meets the parameters of its original motion back in 2017, which put it under the auspices of the county planning commission, and whether it is the most effective way use of people even involved in and members of that task force. But I just know this thing's, we're scheduled to meet next week. They have an organizational meeting. I don't think it's fair not to have that for the same reason for the for the energy task force. I don't think it's fair not to have that discussion now before they have an organizational meeting. So I'd like to open that up. I don't have a motion, anything like that, but anyways, I'd like to start that discussion.
You're welcome.
Yes, it is a task force of the planning commission, or a committee of the planning commission, and we have heard from Housing North that in some form that helps their program.
You're a member, what, you're a member of that committee?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I just want to clear that for the public, I'm sorry.
So
I didn't mean to interrupt.
I would say before we make a decision on that, we ought to check with the Housing North and Peninsula Housing and the Planning Commission and get their recommendation, and then consider that as a board. If Housing North says that's an important task force to have, action committee.
It's called an action committee.
If they believe it's important, I think we could work with the planning commission and restructure that. Maybe they don't need monthly meetings. But in some fashion, if it's helpful to have the county board have a housing action committee, I think we ought to entertain that. And I don't think we have enough information today to make that decision.
All right, Mr. Bunny?
Yeah, I don't think we should depend on that board to tell us that we need to back them up or not. I mean, it really should be this board's decision whether we want to help them out. We should depend on them to tell us that we have to help them out. I mean, I think you've got it backwards the way that you're presenting it. To me, if they're not, I haven't seen anything productive coming from it as far as affordable housing or workforce housing or whatever you want to call it. They have meetings, they talk, and this is going on for how many, 7 years? And it's still doing the same things. So I would think that it's time for the county to get out of it. I mean, we've got it's not supposed to cost us anything, but it's definitely costing time for the planning commission. They usually have one or at least one person and often two people there for those meetings. And if there's no production coming out of it, I think it's time that we actually sit back until they can really use the county and not depend on them to tell us that we should help them out.
Commissioner Algar? Oh, done?
So I mean, so I would make a motion that we not look into that committee anymore and actually, just like we did now with the energy task force, and let that go back to the townships where the real power is for housing, for zoning and everything else, because we really don't have the power to do anything with zoning. So I would make that motion.
All right, so your motion is what?
That we eliminate the
Housing action.
housing action committee.
All right, is there support for that motion?
Or
All right, any discussion?
Oh, go ahead, Ty.
Well, this board makes informed decisions, and I don't think we have enough information today. And I think to make sense to reach out to the experts, Housing North, Peninsula Housing, and say, is there a role that we can be helpful? And if there's a role, then let's consider how we do that. And if there's not a role, and if we can't be helpful, let's not waste our time. But I think it wasn't on the agenda today. We haven't had any input from the public today. I think we need to make sure we make an informed decision.
Commissioner Algar?
I would support those ideas. We're not kings and queens here. The fact is that housing is a desperate need. And for us to just say, well, we don't like the committee. And they haven't, obviously, it's an extremely difficult issue. I don't think it's appropriate for us to make an abrupt decision just because we don't like it. I think we need more information. We need a recommendation from the planning commission. But for the board commissioners to just go, okay, we're out of housing, good luck, everybody, I think is pretty irresponsible.
All right, so.
Yeah, and I don't want the county to get out of housing. But I'm a big procedural guy. And if by our bylaws, see, I did a little work trying to figure out how this was established, who it reports to. I'm not certain by the establishing motions that that board even falls under our auspices. There was a lot of confusion in that if you go back and read the long discussions. And beyond that, our bylaws have two types of committees. Then we have standing committees, which this was not created as a standing committee, and we have select committees. And the select committee shall be dissolved at the completion of the issue. That tells me that select committees are meant for assignments that have a start date and an end date. So I don't think it qualifies as that. I don't think it was approved as that. And I don't think it was approved as a standing committee. So just going by our bylaws, I think we need to start over with this action committee and rethink what we're doing, because there's a conflict there between what our policies say we can do and what's been happening.
All right, so I just got a point of clarification, or maybe, I don't know, it's the administrator or the clerk's office, but from my understanding, the Housing Action Committee, was that set up under this board, under the Planning Commission? Because from my understanding, the Planning Commission appointed members on the Housing Action Committee. So is that committee fall under the jurisdiction of this board? Or is that something the Planning Commission takes up to form a committee, and then we just appoint someone on there if the Planning Commission decides to have this? I guess it might be more of a procedure question, but that's from my understanding, like, I don't.
If it's what I understand, what I heard, this is a planning commission board. It is not a county commission board at all. But they are requesting from this board 2 members to serve on that committee. It's their board.
That's correct. That's my.
Okay, they're looking for 2 members from here. If you don't want to have 2 members serving on that board, I would guess that you could say we're not going to appoint members to that board. That's within your realm, and we'll have to let them know. That's the way I would guess it. Giving me that a whole 15 seconds to figure it out.
Well, and that's why I asked the question, because that was my understanding, that this fell under the Planning Commission, and is that the responsibility of this board to appoint somebody on the planning commission or on that board if the Planning Commission creates that. So with that in mind, I would very like to vote against this, because I feel this is something that's left up to the Planning Commission to decide. If they want to form this, they come back to us and request that somebody from the commissioners sit on that. Any further discussion on that?
Will, your motion was to dissolve the committee.
Yes, as far as what this board's
Right.
involvement in.
I'm not certain,
What?
I'm not certain we have authority to do that if this is under the planning commission.
It was set up by this board.
It was set up by this board and put under the auspices of the planning commission.
Right.
I mean, that's what I don't know. How did it get created? Did the planning commission request it to be
Yes.
created?
No. This board requested that it set up, the planning commission set up a housing. It was requested from this board.
Okay, so, and that's where I don't have the history. So the county commission at that point in time, whatever that was, decided that to have a housing action commission under the direction of the planning commission.
Correct. It came from this board as an order to the planning commission to set it up. And I believe at the
Okay,
time,
you can't dissolve.
yeah, so we can, I believe we have the
I
authority.
would say off the top of my head, you can't dissolve it.
So we can dissolve it, but then the Planning Commission could come back and pretty much.
And request differently, or they can create their own standing committee under their rules.
Right.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, I understand that motion, and yeah, I don't have a problem with that, I guess, if the Planning Commission has that authority to do that. Any further discussion on that?
So what is the result? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Commissioner Elgar.
I sure would like to see in the enterprise that the Board of Commissioners have decided that housing's not important. And energy is not important. I don't understand why we're doing this today. And I will not support it.
Any further discussion?
I brought it up because there's an organizational meeting scheduled in a week. So waiting until there is an organizational meeting to bring these issues up does a disservice to the committee itself. I am very comfortable sending it back to the planning commission, sorting these things out, and then come back to us with something that we know follows proper procedure. This has just kind of gone on and on and on, and it really needs to come to a head so that we're following our own rules.
All right, any other discussion? Not all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Would you please reread the motion?
Okay, I'll reread that motion.
Sure. My motion is by Bunnick to eliminate the Housing Action Committee, support by Walter.
All right, you want to do a roll call on that?
Commissioner Bonnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
No.
Commissioner Robbins,
No.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
No,
Commissioner Yoder, Chairman Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Alguier,
No,
motion fails 3-4.
I would like to follow with a motion that we request that the county planning commission review this committee and that our administrator review its creation to ensure that we're following our own rules, and that the meeting plan for the organization of the task force be canceled until we get those answers.
Is that a recommendation or a motion?
That's a motion.
It's a motion.
Mhm.
All right, is there support for that motion?
Yes.
All right, seconds. Any discussion on that motion?
I would like to amend that motion if I may, Chairman. I'd like to just say in consultation with the expertise of Housing North, Habitat for Humanity, Planning Commission officials, Planning Office, and housing. I think we need to make an informed decision about where we end up.
Support, all right. That amendment's been supported?
Yeah.
All right, any discussion on that amendment? All right, so we'll take a vote on that amendment to the original motion. All those in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried 6-1.
Campbell.
I voted no.
Yep. All right, now we're back to the original motion. Any discussion on the original motion?
So original motion will be amended with Chairman Wessel's
Yeah.
request. Okay,
Commissioner Wilson.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Wessel, I'm sorry.
All right, any discussion? If not, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. All right. That in mind, we'll move on to action item number 8, consideration of a closed agenda. Consideration. Closed session for consideration of written attorney-client privilege communication from the county attorney as presented by MCL 15.268. That's 1H. I believe we need a motion on that.
Do you have the draft motion?
Exactly what is expand your motion to go into closed session for consideration of written attorney-client privilege communication from the county attorney as permitted under MCL 15.268 Aaron H.
So move.
Support. Who made that motion?
Bunnick,
Mike, supported by Commissioner Alguier. That's a roll call vote. All right, so do a roll call.
Commissioner Bonnie,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Chairman Yoder,
Yes,
Commissioner Alguier,
Yes.
7-0.
all right, so we'll go into closed session. I have no idea how long this is gonna take. It's obviously my first time, but we'll try to make it quick and be out, so.
Everyone make sure your microphones are back on.
Never say that.
Okay, excellent. Lost your chair. You waiting for the chair or is the vice chair taking over? Oh. Yes. But we should. But yeah.
I would make a motion that we come out of, are you ready? I'm sorry.
I'm ready.
Okay, out of closed session.
All right, is there support for that?
Support.
All right, supported by Commissioner Walter. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. All right, next up, we're up to public comment. Anybody have any public comment? You got 5 minutes to address us.
Hello, Commissioners. I am Mitchell Treadwell. I live at 620 West 7th Street, Traverse City, Michigan. So I'm Grand Traverse County resident, though I do have property through my family right down the road here. I would like to commend Chairman Yoder and Vice Chair Wessel on their elections today and introduce myself. I am a city commissioner for the city of Traverse City. I know many of you already. Whether it's Will Bunnick, who gave me a ride down to Grand Rapids a couple years ago, or some other people that I've known just through the community, or Richard Lewis, who was mayor when I was on the Traverse City Commission with him. Although Traverse City has only about 400 residents that are also in Leelanau County, I believe that our partnership goes far deeper than that. As Administrator Lewis alluded to, the Traffic and Transportation Coordinating Initiative, which is now an MPO, combines those 400 people with another 2,500 people that are in Bingham and Elmwood townships for regional planning and for issues like transportation, housing, addressing tourism, etc. It is important that we have regional approaches that involve multiple units of government from the township, village, city, and the county, as well as interacting with state government. I hope that we can, over the next several years, manage to keep open channels of communication and work together to see opportunities for partnerships and cooperations on such issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with public comment? Mr. White?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim White. I am the chairman-elect of the Leelanau County Republican Party. And I just wanted to congratulate all of you on your victories in your recent election. And I'm looking forward as a resident of this county to seeing some real results out of this board to make some changes to the way things have been run over the last few years. That being said, as a resident of the county, now I'm going to put my partisan hat on because I am the chairman of the Leelanau County GOP and say that one of the things that is a truism in America is elections have consequences. And when you look at the composition of the board, I think it's pretty clear that one of the consequences of the governance of the last couple of years was that the voters made their dissatisfaction known by the results of the election. And I would hope that the board would take that into consideration when you're making policy going forward, and make sure that when you are making your decisions, that you do so with an eye to that particular result. From the national level on down, there has been a sea change in attitudes towards government. And it's not a situation where citizens look at government as the first option for solving problems in their lives or in their communities. I have heard some things said this morning that make me think that that's the case, that some of you do believe that. I've heard some other words and comments made that might indicate something different. I will say, as I said before, that elections do have consequences, and the voters that my party is representing has a very clear allegiance to those values, the values of less government intrusion, lower taxes, less regulation, et cetera, and more freedom. So I would hope that you keep that in mind. And not only do elections have consequences, but the governance that follows also have consequences. So having said that, I'd just like to say again, congratulations. You have a great day.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Spinnigan.
Don Spinnigan of Leland Township. One thing, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully ask that you direct the members of this county commission to refrain from telling the news media in the audience what to print in next week's paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Weiser? Oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township, and the card that I've passed around is this one, and I sent this out to over 2,000 people. You all got a copy of it, and it's a great opportunity. I've been going to TCAPS meetings. If you go to my website, tcfamily.org, by the way, this update should be on possibly today or very soon about this book offer. It's free books, $25 book, starting on January 22nd, but right now it's free. Just call and request, or just go to this website, scottlively.store. Actually, it's right here, scottlively.store on the top. Nazi Germany's dirtiest secrets and why they matter to America today. And I'll just read what I sent out to these 2,000 plus. Actually, I've added an extra 1,100 educators from Northern Michigan since that time. Dear TCAPS and Board of Education and Administration and all Leelanau County Schools, Board of Education and admins. Plus, this was forwarded to over 2,000 total, plus the 1,100 I've added to that. But Leelanau County employees and TCAPS in Leelanau County and Northwest Michigan Ed and Northern Michigan, say north of Highway 10, educators and friends and pastor friends and area leaders and all 148 Michigan representatives and senators, plus every American citizen who is concerned about the sexual grooming of children. I'm forwarding Dr. Scott Lively's my Christmas present to you for a free copy of his new book entitled Nazi Germany's Dirtiest Secrets and Why They Matter to America Today. Encouraging you all to download it and pass this on to others for this great opportunity. He writes, my Christmas present to you and to all good-hearted people who oppose the LGBT groomer agenda. Free copy and PDF of Nazi Germany's Dirtiest Secrets and why they matter to Leelanau County and to TCAPS and to America today. Here I've got a blown up copy of, here's that's in red, by the way. It's very nice looking book cover. And this is what's on the back. It's all in red. I could show you on my phone quick here. It's right here. That's what it will look like on the book, not on the PDF, but it's just like that. And this is what he writes on the back cover. That's a picture of the back cover. But he writes, it's no longer a secret that the Third Reich was rife with homosexuals and Hitler himself was gay, so-called in quotes, but that's just scratching the surface. In his latest release, Dr. Lively reveals that among other things, Adolf Hitler and many other Nazi party leaders were pederasts. A Nazi-affiliated pederast founded America's so-called gay movement in the 1920s. His pederast successors launched so-called gay pride in the 1950s, and now pederasts and pedophiles are together pushing their grooming campaign to sexualize and mutilate America's children. They failed to normalize their perversion in Nazi Germany because of internal divisions in the gay subculture, but are succeeding in America today through seemingly unbreakable unity in the LGBT community. Two of the items that's discussed on this are Nazi Germany's dirtiest secrets include, one of them is the core of Nazism was always pederasty, man-boy sex, and second one, Nazi Germany, Nazi-style pederasts founded and still facilitate the American gay movement. So TCAPS has been promoting this issue for more than 24 years. I followed it for that long. If you go to my site too, you can read about the books in the libraries. You can actually read the excerpts from them from my website. It should be updated, and I'm just about out of time. So please consider this and please sign up for this book and pass it on to others. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Alexis?
Congratulations to one and all. My name is Alexis Whitman. I live in Leelanau Township. And I want to take this opportunity to read for your benefit Thomas Jefferson's prayer for the nation. And we will, in my prayer, it's for our county as well. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech thee that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of thy favor and glad to do thy will. Bless our land with honorable ministry, sound learning, and good manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one united people, the multitude brought hither out of many kindreds and tongues. Endow with thy spirit of wisdom those whom in thy name we entrust the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace at home, and that through obedience to thy law, we may show forth thy praise among the nations of the earth. In time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in thee to fail, all of which we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
This was the prayer President Thomas Jefferson made in Washington, D.C., March 4th, 1801. And I think it serves a reminder to us all today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else with public comment? Yes.
Zachary Morano here with Leelanau Enterprise. And I just wanted to say that occasionally when I sit down with somebody or if I'm covering a meeting, there's this moment of self-awareness where the other person remembers that they're doing something that's being observed by the member of the press. And sometimes they point that out. And I want to assure everyone in this room that that doesn't have much impact on my coverage. The main thing that's important is what the county board actually decides to do at the meeting, not how they think about how it's going to be perceived by the press.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Mikowski?
Good afternoon, Steve Mikowski, Lake Leelanau. We just came out of a 1 hour and 10-minute meeting, closed session, and the board chooses not to inform the people of what the situation is or the reason for the meeting. It would be good if we have an intention of informing the public to try to do that after every closed session, even though we know that very little can be revealed from those meetings. But I request that you make an effort to at least explain the reason for such a long meeting. Our comments are and views are here regarding our expectation of this new commission. Congratulations, you're the new Leelanau County Commission from 2025 to 2028 to provide the taxpayers with the critical oversight necessary to govern this county. We wish you the best and we expect your best. I'm going to say with consistent with the prayer that was just read before me. I also agree with most of the comments of Mr. White earlier. It appears that you have been elected to do a better job of governance than before. That will be a challenge, but also a golden opportunity to provide the best possible or a high degree or a very proper oversight and accountability of all county matters that are involved in the budget. One of the things that I noticed, the public comment issue was not discussed today. I'm not sure whether the old rules of restricted speech by the public at county meetings is still in place or not, but I find it interesting that we do not want to address that. We want to deny people speech in the public comment period on specific items. So we want to read you also the various ways to spend money. There are 4 ways you can spend money. You can spend your own money on yourself. You can spend your own money on somebody else. You can spend somebody else's money on yourself. And finally, you can spend somebody else's money on somebody else. When you spend it on somebody else, that's mostly done by government. And that's one of the weakest ways to spend money. Most ineffective and most or best way to do it. In our country, that's roughly 40% of our national income. This was described to Fox News, an interview on May 2004 by Milton Friedman. So we people in the public, we understand that when we trust the commissioners here to spend money, that they usually will spend the money in the last category. And so this is why we would urge you, as you come to any meeting in the future, that you put your wallets on the table. And that everything you approve here, it is such a great benefit to the rest of us, because that's your purpose, to serve us, that you will be willing to pay for that specific item all by yourself, just so we can benefit. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
Scott Richards, Green Lake Township. I want to congratulate you on flipping the board and winning your seats. But I want to warn you, because I read my Bible every day for an hour, at least, because I really don't want to deal with the public. And I've been pushing candidates to keep running. And a lot of candidates don't want to run because they don't want to deal with the pollution that's in the government. And pollution means corrupt people. So that's why I read my Bible every day for an hour, because I don't want to leave the door if I don't. And I hope you guys are Christians in the first place. And I hope you seek God's word every day, because that's where the wisdom comes from, is from him. He's all knowledge. And he's loving. And those people that want to be rulers over other people should mostly discern God's word and what he says, because he will be judged higher than people that don't want to be rulers. Thank you. I like the new speakers, but you're still not loud enough over there. So the older people, I know they can't speak so much because they're, but if these can move a little closer or something, so we can hear the older people. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, thank you, everybody, for coming. Next up, we have commissioner comments. Any commissioner? Campbell?
Like I say, I do appreciate all the public comment that challenged us, that grounded us, that reminded us. We went into closed session to discuss union negotiations. If that's not made, if that's not part of the reason why, I will explain it, just because I've been on the other side of that aisle. It's no big secret, and it's just part of it. It's certainly allowed by the State Open Meetings Act, and it's just a very important part of our job. On the public minute, this slipped by me. I did want to just, my thoughts for a better public comment, and maybe we'll discuss this if there's any support. I would like to have at the beginning of the meeting, a 1 minute period, or maybe a 2, but maybe a 1 minute period. We'll see, on any topic. Just because I know you've been on that side of the aisle, you have no idea when you can talk if you come to these meetings. And I would also like us to set our agenda after we hear public comment, because you may bring something up that has gotten by us, that really does need input. And the rest of the rules are fine, but I don't want these meetings to go on any longer, because I think that discourages attendance just as much as having to wait 2.5 hours to say your piece. So anyways, that's what's in my heart, is that I'd like to have an open period for folks, but very limited, just to let us know with brevity what you have on your mind that may not be on the agenda and scheduled to come before us. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
well, I just wanted to say, I really appreciated your thoughts, and thank you for being here. I know that the closed session really makes it hard to stay. So your staying here really means a lot, and I appreciate it, and I especially appreciate the prayer. That was very nice. Thank you.
One quick side note, because you have changed the time to your evening, meeting times to start at 6:30. Under your rules, we're also going to be changing Article 1, which had us down at 7 o'clock, so we'll be doing that for you also. Just a side note, so you don't see it later going with.
Any other commissioner comments? All right, if not, I just want to thank everybody for their support and look forward to working with you all the next 4 years. I think we can do a lot of good. And appreciate the public being here, giving their input as well. So appreciate it. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
All right. Motion support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the commission and public, if you want to stay. Why don't you take about a 20-minute break or 15-minute break? And then we're coming back to do a little bit of orientation, just to help you get things clear. And Matt's going to lead us in that. And with that, this is not a meeting, it's just people are here. We have posted it that there may be a quorum, but this way you can, there's really no agenda, just reviewing more stuff. But anyone's welcome, we have like Open Meetings Act and stuff like that, so you don't mind. Thank you. Am I correct on that, Michelle? There's not really an agenda.
No, I didn't.
We just posted it that possible, whether they want to stay or not. There's no action. Please say trouble.
Hey, you're the one that has trouble on that.
Oh, no.
I was just watching it. Cover screen.
I've been meaning to go and just have a budget.
Yeah, just give everyone we are.
We can have coffee and some. Ours are Monday night. First and third Monday are regular meetings and second.
What's fair to me, I can understand that.
Yeah, I, no.
Yeah. We don't meet on fifth Monday.
Oh, yes, yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to respond, but yeah.
To meet with people and generally Monday.
Well, when we get their schedule.
You know what? I, no way.
Yeah, that's
a long time ago.
I was thinking about mentioning that, actually. I was gonna just say, Ty and Glenn and Richard all know that any attempt to tell me what to say.
No. I learned a long time ago. I don't tell anybody what to say. Right?
I do, but here.
That's all I can ask. So I would like to.
Wow.